Craig of the Creek is easily one of Cartoon Network's best cartoons. Craig of the Creek is one of Cartoon Network's most beloved shows, not only for its fun stories and colorful characters. This fan-favorite cartoon captivates audiences of all ages with its adventures and laughs. That's why, by popular demand, I'm going to give you a complete recap of Season 6 of Craig of the Creek. In the first episode, Craig rushes to the door because the pizza guy has arrived. But when he looks at the pizza and sees that it's pineapple, he screams. But then the pizza guy turns into a bee man and there are bees everywhere. But then he learns that it was a nightmare. But the bees were real and he saw bees everywhere. Then Beekeeper Barry came and told Craig that his room could not be used for 1 week. So Craig decided to stay at his friend's house and went to sleep over at Kelsey's house as his first friend. Kelsey was excited for him to come and immediately opened the door. Afterward, they played board games, but then Kelsey's father Neil came and they were very upset when he told them it was time for bed. Craig went to bed straight away, but woke up soon afterwards because Kelsey's family got up very early, so Craig didn't get enough sleep. Even though Craig was very sleepy, they did tasks together. Then they take Craig to the Crusher. The Crusher is a machine that can destroy everything. Kelsey and her father Neil try to lift him up to throw a sofa onto the machine, but her father says he can't do this last task because he's getting old. The sun is about to rise and Kelsey is very sad. Meanwhile, Craig reluctantly shows up and helps them throw the canapé into the Crusher. Afterwards, they all eat donuts together, but Craig doesn't want to sleep over anymore, so he calls another friend. In the next episode, Craig arrives at Toman's house to spend the night, but instead of answering the door normally, Toman slowly raises the garage door to make an entrance typical of his usual self-aggrandizement. He meets the rest of the Napitapulu family, with their father being sympathetic to the bee infestation and how long it's taking with Barry trying to treat the bees like human kids, while Toman's older siblings hassle their younger brother for his habit of giving himself nicknames. Then the older kids argue about who gets the car that night, but their father strictly reminds everyone not to break curfew or else lose their privileges. Toman and Craig go up to his room where Craig's impressed by awards Toman won for his gourmet tomatoes and for being on the cover of Cool Kids magazine. They settle in to play a wrestling game and are still playing when Mr. Napitapulu tells them it's curfew. In bed, Craig complains that Toman's character was OP and they take his console to set it up in the family room for a rematch, so they don't get in trouble staying up late. Before they can start playing, Toman's brother and sister get home and make a lot of noise arguing and warming up food. This wakes up their father, and to avoid getting in trouble, the older kids hide in the pantry while Craig gets the idea to pretend they're downstairs because he has a nightmare, and Toman's comforting him. Mr. Napitapulu sympathizes again while praising Toman for being a good friend, and the older kids sneak up to their rooms unnoticed. In the next episode, Craig arrives at Ren's house to spend the night and meets her mother, who says she's sorry about the bees that have invaded the house, and reminds Ren that the ant farm has broken free and taken over their laundry room. Craig mentions that moving his stuff to his friends' houses has become a chore, which upsets Ren a bit as it seems to remind her of something, but she shows him her room full of science equipment and the ceiling, which her father compared to outer space. In the middle of the night, Ren asks Craig if he's ever thought about how his life could have been different and convinces him to try out a device of his to explore other universes through his dreams, becoming invisible ghost-like beings in the process. They travel to another dimension where Ren's mother and her cat cut each other's heads off and quickly leave. In the next dimension, everyone is mer people, and a giant shark crashes into the wall, causing them to leave in a hurry. In the next upside-down dimension, Ren's father comes to visit and gets into an argument with her mother, demoralizing Ren again, so they leave. The next dimension is one in which Slide the Weasel is real and becomes best friends with the resident Craig. It is also a dimension where Ren's parents are getting divorced, and although Craig wants to permanently merge with his counterpart here and become best friends with Slide, he decides to be a good friend and find a dimension with Ren where her parents are still together. In the next dimension they visit, Ren's parents are still happily together, as she had hoped. However, the version of Ren in this dimension is not interested in science, and Ren decides that she cannot stay here because her parents want her to be her true self. They wake up, and Ren goes to stay at her father's house for the duration of the custody agreement. In the other episode, Craig goes to spend the night at Bobby's house, where Bobby's father offers him pineapple pizza, but after recent events involving it, Craig quickly declines. Upon meeting up with Bobby, Craig's surprised he has no candy at home, and Bobby shuts him up because his parents don't let him have sugar, and that's why he hides it inside all over his room. and Bobby offers Craig a candy bar created by hiding multiple candy bars inside his beanbag chair, and years of pressure from sitting on it. After a psychedelic experience from so much sugar, Craig wakes up to find Bobby's room trashed, and only an angry raccoon in the room with him. Craig hurries into the creek to find Bobby so he doesn't get in trouble missing his dentist appointment that morning. Remembering Bobby's wish that he could cut loose more often, Craig remembers suggesting they go into the creek the night before to do that. He goes to the candy bar where Raj and Sean are upset that the window's been broken, because Craig jumped through it head first the night before. George is the only one there and demands Craig leave before the others show up, but it's too late, because then Eliza comes in wearing a hoodie, sweatpants, and thick glasses, horrified that someone besides her friends has seen her without all her finery. After George menaces Craig with a giant mallet, he runs away and remembers what happens next. Bobby started crying that it was the first time he and Craig had really hung out, and he didn't want it to end so soon. Craig had suggested they could hang out longer if Bobby didn't have his dentist appointment, and he wouldn't have to go to the dentist if he had his teeth knocked out. A raccoon stole the marshmallows they planned to use to replace Bobby's teeth, and when they chased it, they ran into a giant muscular deer and ran away. Bobby ate sugar and powered up so much he carried Craig past the moon with a giant jump. After running into the Bobbersons' back fence, Craig finds Bobby sitting in a tree in their backyard. He gets Bobby dressed and teeth brushed just in time for Mr. Bobberson to collect him. Craig and Bobby share a fist bump in solidarity of the night they shared. In the next episode, Barry announces he's finally befriended the bees, and Craig will have his own room back the next day. The Stump Kids, Toman, Bobby, Ren, and Sparkle Cadet all find themselves invited to a slumber party at Eliza's mansion. There's a pizza covering the entire dining room table, impressing all the guests, especially Craig, because there's no pineapple at all. Jane and George call everyone's attention when Eliza addresses them over a tablet because she's too important to come down from her room and talk to them in person. Eliza's heard about the spree of sleepovers not involving her and isn't about to be outdone. She tells the kids there will be a series of party games, and the final winner gets an amazing prize. First game is Freeze Dance. Sparkle Cadet keeps dancing after the music stops and gets thrown in the basement. Second game is Pillow Fight. Toman vs. J.P., who wins where he sees embroidered spiders on the pillow he picks, freaks out, and knocks Toman down by accident when he throws the pillow away. Ren and Kelsey, where Ren calculates she'll lose and gives up. Lastly, Craig vs. Bobby, who puts up a heavy shonen anime-inspired fight. Bobby leaves himself open when he remembers the good times he and Craig had at his own sleepover and gets knocked down by Craig. Bobby accepts that Craig has to go on and know what the prize is before he gets tossed in the basement too. Last game is Truth or Dare. Eliza demands Craig decide which kid is his best friend. Instead of ruining a friendship by picking favorites, all three kids refuse to answer the question, deciding their friendships are more important than whatever prize they could win. So all three lose and get thrown in the basement. Which, it turns out, is an awesome entertainment room where all the other losers have been having fun the whole time. Eliza reveals the prize. The winner got to join the Tea Timers. Nobody cares, and they keep partying. George and Jane join in after Eliza leaves. Craig then comes back to his own room, which is now totally de-infested. Barry's asleep on the top bunk, but Craig tucks him and lets him snore, having had enough sleepover adventures to worry about it. In the other episode, we see how the youngsters of the creek were scattered. In the sequel, Mark was the only one left, and he met Jerry, declared him a teenager, and recruited him to his team. Mark asked Jerry to steal as many toys as he could from the kids in the creek. Jerry managed to steal them all and became superior to Mark in status. However, Jerry betrayed him, took the Giga Sandwich sword, and banished him. Afterwards, when Craig and his friends saw that Mark was upset, they talked to him and wanted to reunite the young people who had left the team. Kelsey went to Barry, JP went to David, and Craig went to Kenneth and asked them to come back. But in the end, Craig and his friends managed to get the Creek Boys back together, and they went to Jerry and asked for their toys back. But Jerry was too strong with his Giga Sandwich sword, and then Mark showed up. As David and Barry were about to leave because Mark had arrived, Mark apologized to everyone for being selfish, and they immediately forgave him. They all combined their friendship necklaces and reached their ultimate form, which was very powerful. Just as they're about to fight, Craig stops them and tells them that this war is unnecessary, because they're friends again. But Jerry gets bored with the game, so he leaves and they get all the players back. After they reorganize the cave, everything gets better. In the final episode of the series, Bernard's leaving to officially start college, while Craig's in the process of redrawing his map of the creek. Before he goes, Bernard gives Craig his Bring Out Your Beast cards and tells his little brother to appreciate where he's at. Noticing how empty the house is with everybody else driving Bernard to school, Craig goes to the creek to finish his map. Craig finishes it so fast, he realizes he knows the creek so well, he doesn't need a map of it anymore. Instead, Craig hangs it up at the trading tree so other kids can see where everything is. All the kids Craig met over his adventures start showing up to express their appreciation for making the map public, although JP at first is upset, thinking they doxed ourselves. Soon, pretty much every kid in the creek shows up to the impromptu party, with Kit saying she'll bill Craig for all the snacks. Xavier shows up suddenly, and everyone's worried he's gonna try to get revenge, but he actually just wants to get a group pic of everyone. Finally, the party is over, and all the children start to go home. At dinner, the tuba is heard, but Craig decides to hang around and enjoy being in the creek a little more. Finally, the series ends with Craig, Kelsy, and JP lying on the grass. This is how I told you the whole story of Craig of the Creek. If you want more videos like this, don't forget to like and comment on this video. See you in the next one. Bye!